So for those of you out there who are State of Decay fans, you have likely come across Arky's Gamecast at some point. Arky, for those of you who don't know, is a fellow content creator here on YouTube who has been making a coverage series for the franchise, covering everything from patch notes to discussion topics to speculation. He is an absolutely lovely guy whose videos do spark some really interesting discussions, not only in his comments section, but with me as well, where I'll watch one of his videos and it'll spark off a train of thought and get me thinking about the game on a different level as well. I think he's a lovely guy, top-notch content creator, and as a fellow content creator who makes videos in State of Decay 2, his recent coverage video got me thinking, although in more of a negative way, really, than Arky was during his discussion. So today what I wanted to do was more or less create a reaction video or a response video to Arky and lend my thoughts to the discussion that he started and just see what all of you guys think here on my channel. So I will be referencing Arky's video here today and showing you little snippets of it just for reference so you know what I'm talking about. But if you want to watch the whole thing or check out Arky's channel, I'll leave a link to it in the video description where you can do so. I would highly recommend you do that if you are a State of Decay 2 fan. He creates way more State of Decay 2 videos than I do, I think, and they're probably way more engaging and interesting than watching me play through State of Decay 2 for yet another time. But equally, before we go any further, it should go without saying that this is not a hate video on Arky or the Undead Labs team. I love and support both of these people. The Undead Labs team is more than one person. You know what I mean. It's dumb that I even have to say that these days, but there you go. I think Arky's great. His channel's great. I support him in that. I think Undead Labs is great. I buy their games. I support them. I think I've bought State of Decay 1 like 3 times or something at this point. I like both these people, basically. Don't try and turn this into some kind of internet drama, please. So, in Arky's latest coverage video, he was really diving into what he thought the folks over at Undead Labs were working on now.
And I actually don't agree that Undead Labs have slacked when it comes to their content release schedule.
So at this point, I metaphorically pulled up my britches, spat out my chewing tobacco, and was ready for a good old Russell tussle, because I actually really disagree with this. Before State of Decay 2 launched, the development team said on numerous streams and interviews that they would be supporting State of Decay 2 with regular small content packs. These would maybe add a weapon or two, or a vehicle here or there, and with the Ultimate Edition and the pre-orders, you were given access to the Preppers Pack, and I think there was one more, which I forget the name of right now. And in my eyes, those can't really be counted if we're talking about content packs, because they were pre-order bonuses, as opposed to post-launch content. Now this game launched on May 22nd, 2018. It's almost been a year, and to date, we have had one content pack release, and that was the Independence Pack. Now I know with certain patches, we've seen new weapons getting put into the game, and I think at Christmas we had, was it the Wizards van added to the game too? But honestly, it's not the same thing, because I appreciate that we're getting weapons and certain items for free. That's really cool. I totally love it whenever developers give us stuff for free. I think everybody loves it when developers give us stuff for free. But the idea behind the content packs would be that this was like a way to monetize State of Decay going forward, where they would maybe release some cool looking weapons, and we as the community would think, heck, that's a really cool looking weapon. It only costs like $1 or something, as opposed to, I think that was it $5 that the Independence Pack cost. It's like $1 or whatever for 2 weapons or a new car, and we think, you know what, I love the good folks over at Undead Labs. I'm gonna give these guys my $1, get the weapon. Holy heck, yes. And I think we were all, as far as I'm aware, we were all fine with that. And I've said it before in videos, but honestly, I don't think having one content pack in almost a year delivers on what was said pre-launch. Sure, they released Daybreak as well, but that's an expansion on the same way that Breakdown was, or Lifeline, maybe not to the same degree, but it's an expansion or an add-on. It's not something that should be compared to what is in essence a small pack of content. And yes, I know they've got the difficulty mode coming, and yes, they've got the Return to Trumbull Valley map coming, but again, in my eyes, the Daybreak team would have or could have moved on to create those or work on those. I just don't understand why we're not seeing these content packs releasing when we were told that they would be regular. And again, this could be just a miscommunication in what I think and what the Undead Labs team think is regular. For me, regular would be maybe once a month, once every couple of months, maybe even once a quarter could be regular. It's been one in a year. Like I just don't understand. The only reason I have is that in an old stream after the Independence Pack, one of the devs had mentioned how people had complained about the revolutionary zombies being in the game and how the team were taking that on board to change how they did content packs. Now, for me, I honestly think that that was the worst thing that could have happened, and a perfect example of a vocal minority of the game's fans negatively impacting possibly the release flow of new content. Now, for me, the way that I saw that was that whenever they said that on stream, I immediately felt they're probably not going to do this in the same way anymore, or we may not get to see content packs anymore because they're worried that people are going to complain. I was totally fine with the Revolutionary Zombies. Like, were they slightly immersion breaking? Sure, probably. Are we really going to get into that discussion with State of Decay 2 and like breaking your immersion? I just think that is the pettiest argument ever. It's a different video for a different day, but honestly for me, I thought that that was the reason that we never saw a Halloween content pack or a Christmas content pack with themed undead zombies, because they were worried that there would be a backlash from a very vocal minority of the games community who basically were complaining that it was breaking their immersion, or this doesn't fit into what my idea of State of Decay is. And it's like, you know what? Shut up. I don't care. I would rather have the Undead Labs team throw in a zombie with a pumpkin on his head for a bit of a laugh and we all have a bit of a joke because it disappears after a month, than them not release content and support the game in this way. I think it's a bit of a sacrifice. So for whatever reason, yes, I do feel that there has been some slack on content being released for the game in this form.
Mid-last year at Microsoft's E3, Undead Labs was one of many acquired studios by the publisher for first-party exclusivity rights. That's a big get for Microsoft and Xbox, with Microsoft's massive funding at their disposal. Undead Labs are in a unique position to finally create the game they have always wanted to create.
So I see this coming up quite a bit in the community, and I kind of just want to balance this out with a little bit of healthy negativity, which I guess is maybe what this whole video is. So quite a few folks have stated that since Undead Labs are now a Microsoft studio, that it means that they're getting a lot more funding. This isn't the case whatsoever. We've no evidence to say that this is true or that they are receiving more money as a studio. So that the fact that Undead Labs have been acquired by Microsoft is actually a real benefit to Undead Labs as opposed to the other way around. Yeah, sure, it's great Microsoft have got a really up-and-coming studio, but for Undead Labs, it opens up the studio to other revenue streams because they might be able to do contract work for the other Microsoft studios, but it doesn't mean that Microsoft are just handing them bundles of cash. The team at Undead Labs will have to pitch their new projects to Microsoft just like everyone else, because in the same way they're going to be fighting for Microsoft's money just like everybody else, including these other Microsoft studios, in order to secure additional funding from their parent company. So this is the same thing that happens with the Ubisoft studios. They don't just automatically go out and make games. All the teams pitch in order to secure the money needed to make their game. I think promoting the idea that Undead Labs have free access to a large pool of cash will in the end only further frustrate the community. If Undead Labs don't meet a deadline or do take a while to release something, community members will complain that that makes no sense since they've got all this Microsoft money, when in actuality they're really just as better off financially, I'd say, than when they were an independent studio.
Jeff Strain is the founder and lead executive within Undead Labs now, but I gotta say, he has been fairly quiet, and that's no coincidence. Jeff has always been a man of few words, but a whole lot of ambition, from what I've seen, and he has always been clear and transparent when speaking on his current workings. So for him to not be speaking is really because if he did, we wouldn't be hearing about State of Decay 2 development, we would be hearing about his next big team-defining project.
So there's a couple of things here. It's not uncommon for the CEO of a company to kind of take a backseat and not make as many public appearances. Like on the same page, it could be totally true what Arky's saying here, and he's not coming out and speaking publicly because he wants to come out and speak publicly about this new thing that he's working on. I'm just saying it's not uncommon for a CEO to eventually take a back seat in public appearances. The Undead Labs team, especially as well, now have amazing folks in-house like Wonder, and equally now have a whole media team at Microsoft to do the public speaking and organise the press for them. It's equally not uncommon for a developer to begin planning or at least thinking about their next project once their current one launches, so I think in that regard, absolutely Arky's hitting the nail on the head. I think it's not outside the realms of possibility to think that the folks at Undead Labs are maybe thinking about their next game, or whether that be State of Decay 3 or otherwise. At the end of the day, they need to start tracking down the next paycheck that's going to bring the money in for the studio. However, I'll be honest with you, if the majority of the team at Undead Labs have now just moved on to the next thing, in my eyes, that would make me feel like they really just didn't care about State of Decay 2 at all. It feels like the team worked on State of Decay 1 for a long time and cultivated the game over time, so for them not to do something similar for the sequel would make me feel like it was just a throwaway title. And to be clear, I don't feel, or at least I don't want to feel like that is what they've done or what they think about State of Decay 2. I don't think the majority of the team has moved on to work on the next thing, because I don't think Undead Labs are like that as a studio. I think they've probably still got the majority of the people at the company still working on the game and working on developing the game further. Arky then goes on to talk about how they could most likely be working on a post-apocalyptic MMO, and honestly, I don't know. When you look at the plethora of bugs and issues State of Decay 2 had, both in multiplayer and single player, it's hard to know if the company is ready to tackle something as potentially monumentous as an MMO with the multiplayer, the pathing and the server issues it would no doubt have. Don't get me wrong, I'd be all for another zombie game from the team, but I'd worry that an MMO is biting off a bit of a massive piece of the pie, and I think to assume that they'd be making an MMO simply because of the CEO's background at Blizzard and further afield, I think it might be putting two and two together but coming out with a different outcome. Do I like Undead Labs? Absolutely. Do I like Arky? Absolutely. But I think if the team at Undead Labs are not going to develop State of Decay 2 further or produce any new content after the Trumbull Valley map, I will be incredibly shocked as one, but disappointed as another. I don't think that'll be the case. Although part of me thinks I'm saying that in order to convince myself that everything will be fine. I think it will be fine. Again, maybe I'm still just trying to convince myself. Are there people at Undead Labs working on their next game? Absolutely. Do I think it's the majority of their staff? Probably not. I just don't feel like we've scratched the surface of what Undead Labs could do or add to State of Decay 2, and so to more or less abandon it to a maintenance and upkeep level of development would just be really sad. But what do you all think? Do you agree with Arky? Do you think I'm right? Do you think we're both wrong? Let me know down in the comments below. But if you're new to the channel, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here. If you enjoyed what you've seen, feel free to subscribe. But until next time, folks, have a great week, and I'll speak to you all soon.